Okay, lots of reactions surrounding Charlie Sheen telling Matt Lauer in the Today Show that he is HIV positive. And I wanted us to have a discussion, not so much about the details in the story. We'll talk about those details in case you don't know the backstory or you weren't able to see the interview. But I more so want to talk about the reaction on social media, which really underscored how highly stigmatized HIV and AIDS still is as a dirty disease, as an immoral disease, as a gay disease, to the point where people are saying, oh, Charlie Sheen deserved it, or anybody that has contracted HIV or has AIDS deserved it because it is an immoral or gay or dirty disease. I mean, some of the tweets, you guys, wow. There's also a lot of jokes, too. Some people saying that Charlie Sheen hashtag is no longer winning. I want to read a few of the tweets here, and there are so many to go through. But for instance, we have... so Charlie Sheen has HIV for years. Does this really surprise anyone? He is the poster child of risky behavior. Someone else says, this whole Charlie Sheen sitch has me looking at Lindsay Lohan, LOL. Is anyone really surprised about Charlie Sheen's announcement? He's a narcissist, elitist, and addict. And then he deserves it. You lie with dogs, you get fleas. Someone else calling it a gay disease. Time Magazine even hinting that it was a gay disease. So really sad. Also, I think that if we can talk about, we can go into the details about Charlie Sheen. We can also go into the details about the stigma, because the WHO, the World Health Organization, they have here, which I thought was really important. And now people are starting to list this statistic because of Charlie Sheen coming out. And even have to say coming out is a weird way to say that, right? Because it's his health. Mm-hmm. This is somebody's medical records, their health. They don't even need to come out. Would you come out about cancer?
No, it's absolutely private.
So weird.
Anyone, even if you're a celebrity, it's your medical information.
Yeah, it's a violation of HIPAA for some of these media outlets prior to even hint that it was Charlie Sheen, right? We can talk about all that too. So really quickly, the WHO, which a lot of media outlets are now publishing, 1.2 million people are living with HIV in the United States today. Of those infected, only 37% are seeking treatment because, and this is according to the WHO, because with stigma and discrimination being the key reason why people are avoiding treatment or even telling people or just pretending they don't have it, this ignorance is bliss mentality, because they're in fear that people will discriminate against them. So first and foremost, what did you guys think when you heard that Charlie Sheen came forward that he's HIV positive? What were your reactions? And then we can go from there.
I mean, I think I was kind of surprised by the media reaction, because I saw it started trending on Facebook. Charlie Sheen rumored to announce HIV positive status on the Today Show, and my first thought was, I can't believe that it's going to be this newsworthy, that this poor guy who already has HIV and who has been living with it for a while has been kept in the closet, felt like he had to stay in the closet with this, and now he has to go on public TV. And, you know, I didn't think that Matt Lauer did a great job with that interview, to be honest. And it was really, he had to subject himself to this humiliation on top of the fact that he already had HIV and was struggling with clearly his own, personal demons and then also his health. I just thought that it really wasn't dealt with in a sensitive way. And it did bring to light a lot of stigma surrounding the disease that I was genuinely surprised is still an issue, and that just shows that I wasn't educated enough. Mm-hmm.
I forgot that HIV kind of was a thing, because I hadn't heard about it forever, and I think that's kind of lends itself to the stigmatism, because is that the right word? Stigmata, because it's you hear about it from decades ago, and then out of nowhere, it's oh, this is still a thing that people are having to go through. And also, the whole reason he's having to make the announcement, ironically, is because of the stigma, because it is a private thing, like you're saying, but he's not having to talk about it so that he, dispels or, takes the power away from the people that are trying to blackmail him, which, is insane. So if there wasn't a stigma, then it's he wouldn't be making this announcement.
Right.
Now he's making this announcement, and it's a weird, I don't know.
I'm glad, really quickly, before you chime in, Amir, you brought up the blackmail, right? So Charlie Sheen did tell Matt Lauer, he said that he's trusted the diagnosis with people he thought he could confide in, but has paid out upwards of $10 million to keep the illness secret. He didn't want to cause stress on certain people. He didn't want to be discriminated against. And at the end of the day, it was his own private secret. Charlie Sheen claims that he did disclose the fact that he had HIV to every single person he had sexual relations with. Now, there is a slew of people claiming that he did not, and they are filing lawsuits. And if that's the case, shame on Charlie, and I hope these people get justice. But according to Charlie, he was very forthright. His ex, Brie Olson, is saying that he never told her. He is saying that he can prove that, yes, he did not tell Brie Olson, but that was because he was diagnosed after they broke up.
So he's been diagnosed for what, 6 years? 4
4 years.
4 years,
yeah. It was in 2011, like towards the end of 2011, and he and Brie Olson broke up, according to Charlie, before he was diagnosed in early 2011.
Yeah, the public reaction to this is just really upsetting, to me at least. Just like, to a person who comes out with this disease and the way they react to it and how hateful it really is. It's like, just going back to like the whole stigma, yeah, it's so real. And we ignored it for a long time, but like look what happens when someone that people like loved at one point, but as soon as he comes out with this, like just, of course he deserves it, he's been doing all that, that's you're like, I don't know if the right word is slut shaming or whatever.
Victim blaming.
It's victim blaming, but like no one ever deserves this.
No one deserves
HIV. HIV is something that can just happen one time. You can have protection every time, and then just one time it happens.
We are all prone to getting HIV. And not only that, you know, people also saying that, you know, he engaged in risky behavior because he's an addict. Okay, addiction is a mental illness. Yeah. Addiction is a disease. Where is the empathy here? So I see a lack of empathy. I put out a tweet that I supported Charlie Sheen coming forward. I got an onslaught of people saying, how could you, Sam? Charlie Sheen has been abusive towards women in the past. Yes, there is actually a history of that. And for that, it does not erase his past.
Right.
Some of those are allegations. Some of those he served jail time for. So by me having sympathy for someone that has HIV, by me being happy that he's at least talking about it, because even though he was forced to some degree to come forward, Charlie Sheen also is taking this social responsibility seriously. He did say, quote, I'm not going to be the poster man for this, but I will not shun away from responsibilities and opportunities that drive me to helping others. And he does say that he wants to move into a more philanthropic chapter in his life, and he hopes that this is his new mission. So with that being said, we can still support someone to come forward and really be an advocate and help curb the stigma without saying, okay, that doesn't erase his past behavior against women. So I just wanted to clarify that because I did get slammed on that on Twitter.
I think that's a good point. I think that we can support and we can empathize with Charlie's situation without condoning the past behavior that might have got him where he is right now. I think isn't that just what it is to be a human?
Yeah, because you can do that, and you guys can do that because you're smart. But a lot of people are really, really dumb, and they're like, he got a bad thing happen, he did a bad thing in the past, they're connected, and they're not connected. Like, people are just really, really stupid. No offense to whoever is
No
slamming
offense to people, but
dumb.
People are dumb.
It's true.
And HIV, too, you know, with Charlie Sheen, according to his doctors, it's undetectable in his blood, and that's what people have to realize today. Now you can, quote-unquote, beat HIV, depending on your resources. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that have HIV, develops into AIDS, especially in third world countries, and it's so sad that they don't have the treatment that like Charlie or other people here in the States can get. But Charlie, right now, you know, he's on antiviral medication. It's undetectable in his blood, just like Magic Johnson, and they can live a very long, healthy life. Of course, they're gonna have to take medication every day, and antiviral medication, but it's not what we imagined, which was all based on fear in the early 80s. And you would think that we would have learned.
It's crazy how that still permeates to now, because most of us were kids in the 80s. Like, we don't really remember like the whole HIV scare then, but like generations later, there's still like this idea that it's a gay disease or something.
I know. Or like you deserve it somehow because it's your immoral
because
behavior.
Immoral sex behavior. Like,
nobody deserves it. No one. And it was a way to marginalize people, right? It was a way to marginalize, you know, the LGBTQ community. It was a way to marginalize promiscuous people. And that's a really sad thing to say because, again, nobody deserves HIV. Nobody deserves to be stigmatized. Nobody deserves to be discriminated against. And I think, and even when I work on Loveline with Dr. Drew, people will call in and say, oh no, you know, I found out that, you know, this person may have HIV and we made out. You can't get HIV from saliva. You cannot get HIV from saliva. I guess if like they had like a bloody sore and then you had a bloody sore because you can contract it from blood.
Is that not how you make out? That's how I make out every
bloody
time.
Sore.
But I mean, that's really, that would be like a bloody sore in your mouth. That would be very rare. I don't even think that could be a possibility. But again, and I'm just regurgitating Dr. Drew. I'm not a doctor, but the Dr. Drew will slam the person on the phone and say, educate yourself about this disease. It's contracted through sexual intercourse or, you know, blood if you both you know, but even then, that's a very slight chance.
Yeah.
So, of course, protect yourself at the end of the day, use protection, be smart, but let's also have empathy and let's not discriminate people who are suffering from a disease.
And like, look, it's fucked up that he didn't disclose this to any of his partners. But
if
like,
he didn't, we don't know that. He
but
claims he did.
But that just goes and points to the stigma about it, that like you want to hide this because you feel that your life is going to be fucking ruined if anyone knows.
Yeah, it's true. That the underlying symptom of that would be stigma.
Yeah, and I think it's good too that he's or at least a positive of this whole thing, because for me it like feels kind of like the whole thing feels gross, not the HIV part, but the fact that everybody is like, let's listen to this guy talk about his health for a while.
Around
and then like this aftermath and people like being like, well, it's this and that, and it's like, just don't. Like I didn't tweet anything about it, and I had thoughts on it, but like you know, not to say that like it was a bad thing to do that. I just felt like for me, it was very educational, and this whole thing, like even the facts you're reading now, I'm like, oh, that's like, I didn't know that. Like I wasn't sitting here going like, you know, assuming the worst, but it's still like a good thing. He's starting a conversation that is like a very good conversation.
It reminded me, like, not to say these two things are equal at all, but it reminded me a lot of like the Bruce Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner, just transformation and everything, the transition.
You're right about that.
And the way that, just like the way the media was handling it, and like how kind of up and gross it was.
I think because that comes from ignorance. A lot of people didn't know how to use like the proper pronouns. They didn't knew what transgender meant. They didn't know what transitioning meant. So when you have ignorance, you have fear, and until you educate yourself, then you can bring on tolerance and empathy. And I think the conversation with Caitlyn Jenner has brought on a lot of tolerance, has brought on a lot of empathy. Of course, there's a lot of people
there. Hopefully the same will happen here.
And hopefully the same will happen here. Cool. So, but at the end of the day, let's just remind ourselves to learn. I had to learn about it. We all had to learn about it. It's okay if you didn't know, but now that we're talking about it, let's learn about it, and let's come from a place of empathy always, right? So you guys, please keep the conversation going, and we'll see you guys next time on Pop Trigger.